Yeah. Welcome to another edition of the Views from the Friend Zone podcast. It's your boy Real Talk Mall.
And your boy Sensei. What's up, y'all? What's going on, people?
Another week of a lot of things going on in the media and craziness, so we thought about having topics that's relevant to what's going on. And our first topic is profiting off of racism. We all know that this country has a huge divide when it comes to racism and how it seems to get worse and worse every time, a person of color is shot down by the police or just killed in a certain way. We get a divide of people saying, oh, if he would have, just complied. Oh, if he wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. And, it always seems to appear that the responses are different by people of different colors. So we're trying to look into the more recent events of how people are now trying to profit by the way that the country is so divided. So profiting off of racism. And the first question on that is, how do you feel about racism being used to profit? I.e., such as what we see going on with McGregor using racism to make people further want to see the fight between him and Mayweather.
Yeah, I think that is the most current example. But I think not only profit, it would be profit too. The presidential election was
that's one of the
off of
follow-up
racism,
questions. But
with the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight, which is going to be a massacre anyway, I think that's what they had to do. I feel not that they have to do. That's what McGregor. That's his go-to, and it's the easy mark, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think those press conferences are really entertaining. The first two had me rolling, and then I think it was the last one in which he said something about the Rocky movie, and
it's like with a whole bunch of dancing monkeys
around,
and
like
then
that.
Dance for me, boy, dance for me. What to me, what's dangerous about that is we all know there's always a entertainment element of when sometimes people say things that are catchy just for shock value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that shock value is used to promote things, especially wrestling and boxing, those kind of sports where you're trying to sell a main event where people have to actually spend money to watch it versus how you watch a basketball game, football game, those are free. So it usually takes a little additional marketing because people actually have to do an action of paying for it. But my thing is, when you take something that's such a heated topic as racism and play on it just to hype people up, I think that's a dangerous tool. You don't think that's irresponsible in a way?
Is it irresponsible? A lot of people would disagree with my opinion, but I say no. You know why? Because for one, I think we have to embrace this racism. And I know y'all like, what is he talking about? First of all, everybody says racist things. I say racist things. I'm sure you've said racist things. Hold on. I'm sure everybody has said something racist at one point or another.
In the comfort of your home.
Not even in the comfort of my home.
Or behind closed doors. But
listen,
as public figure, go ahead.
It's been done in multiple. Yeah, I see a public figure, because you're being exposed to a mass of people, many more. But it's not just in the privacy anymore. And I would prefer it that way. But what I'm getting to is saying that just because you say racist things from time to time, it doesn't make you a racist. People are so afraid of being labeled a racist. Like, if somebody white says the N-word or whatever at a time that they feel comfortable enough that they think they can say it, they're like, oh, really? You're a racist. No, you're not a racist. You might be a little confused and you used a racist term, but that doesn't make you a racist.
You know what I'm going to differ or have a difference of opinion. I think we all say things that are heavily rooted in stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? We say things, we address people sometimes with the stereotypes that's well known. Mm-hmm. To me, when someone's racist, it's more of not only words, but it's attitude, it's actions. For someone to be a racist, to me, it's a consistent behavior versus sometimes we say things that are stereotypical. We the whole
so wait, from
white
what
man
McGregor
white
said,
man can't like.
Do you think he's a racist?
I don't think he's a racist. I think he's a salesman. He's a
Yeah.
showboat, right? So he followed up saying, "I'm not racist. I'm black from the waist down."
Is
You know,
that, he said?
he said that, right? Yeah, he said that because he's playing on the stereotype that black men are more well endowed than men of other
And
nationalities.
that's a prejudice that we don't mind embracing. You
Yeah,
see what I mean?
yeah. To
Some
me, that's a
precedent shit.
stereotype, right? So that's
Stereotype
why I
shit that
said
you don't mind.
that's why I said, you know, we all say stereotypical things. We all say, like, you know, when we're amongst our friends or we're amongst our peers, we might say certain things about other cultures, or be like, you know, such and such behaved in that certain way because that's just how they do, kind of thing. And to be honest with you, that is never going to change.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I
People
agree.
are always going to have those kind of, you know, tendencies. And to me, not saying that it's good, to me, it's okay. But when we use it as a tool to profit off of, like we incite people, like someone, I listen to sports radio every day, and someone had called the radio station and said, it's all cool that they're using this kind of, you know, rhetoric, but it was a black caller. He said, if a white boy get too hyped over this McGregor thing and think he could come at me because McGregor's all hyped and make it a black and white thing, I'm gonna put him on his ass, and he's gonna realize, leave that kind of thing between McGregor and Mayweather. My thing is, you know, the country is extremely sensitive right now. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you say any keywords that usually, like how Bill Maher said, me doing work, I'm a house nigga. I wouldn't be doing work. You know what I'm saying? And it's how comfortable people are on saying certain things. But my thing is, when you're in the public eye, I feel like you have to carry yourself a different responsibility.
I agree with that.
I'm not saying that.
I agree
I'm
with
not
that.
even going as far as the whole role models thing. I'm just saying, like, you have to behave above, like, you know, the low points. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're going to be exposed to a lot more people, a lot more audiences, and you have a responsibility to conduct yourself in a certain fashion.
I would have been equally hyped if McGregor was just like, "Come on, boy, you boy." I didn't like the boy language, right? So scratch that. But just like, you know, you soft. You don't fight the kind of men that I fight. You spend your whole time running around the ring ducking men. I look men in their face and I tear them down. I'd have been like, yo, he's talking that talk. Like the whole dance for me, all you like to do is dance like monkeys. I hate that.
You got to put it into context. And this is not me taking up for what McGregor said, but you got to put everything in the context. He was asked about the Rocky 3 or something like that. I think the reporter or whoever was interviewing asked him if I don't know exactly what the question was, but it had reference to Rocky. And he was like, McGregor was like, oh, the one where he was dancing around in the gym, or the monkeys was dancing in the back, something like that. You know, but it wasn't monkeys, it was black men.
People.
It was Apollo Creed's gym, I think it was.
And you know, Apollo Creed had that soul. And to me, it's just like, I'm not overly sensitive about it, because at the end of the day, it's not like, you know, a politician or someone who has to have a moral compass was using this kind of, you know, vocabulary. But to me, it's just like to me, it shows lack of intelligence, lack of creativity. If you watch McGregor, he always has these crazy press conferences and saying all these things and things like that. So, but he's usually creative about it. But
somebody said, it was a report I saw, whatever. It's interesting, like, he gets away with that stuff, and the way he acts all brash and cocky and, you know, whatever. But if an athlete, a black athlete, or somebody else acted the way he acted, they would say, "Oh, look at him." You know, they would look at him in a nasty way, like he's cocky.
Like his is considered bravado. Ours is arrogance. Oh, he has nerves to be so arrogant.
Yeah,
you know, my money pays for him to live the life that he lives.
That's the racism that bothers me. You know what I mean? Like, you expect us to act a certain way. You know, when one of yours acts this way, it's viewed differently.
Fun and games.
It's a different term.
That's just boys being boys kind of thing, or men being men kind of thing. But
that's what I don't like.
But when an athlete of color shows that same
swag or whatever,
he's a villain. Just think about it. They're making Mayweather the villain, McGregor the hero.
The Great White Hope. That's what they playing it out to be. They made a movie about this though. I
Yeah.
mean, you know
But,
what I mean? So
I just think, you know, in this day,
maybe without the exact language that's being used, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's someone also said this. It was funny, like when Tyson got out of jail and how they was promoting Peter McNeely as like he was really competition when he really wasn't.
God.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But to me, don't get it twisted. As fighters, McGregor in his sport and Mayweather in his sport are both alpha males. But the fact that you're blending in two different fighting styles to just boxing, this fight's not going to be as competitive as people want it to be.
But just his little financial tip for you guys: if you got like $50 you willing to just blow, I will put it on McGregor. Okay, just even though I don't think he has any chance of winning,
Just the return
you
on
never
that.
know what can happen, and I think the odds might be like 50-1, or I don't even know. They might be worse
That's the
than that.
beautiful thing
You
about
can make some money if
combat sports versus all other sports, right? Because all other sports have, like, you know, baseball's 9 innings, football's 4 quarters, basketball's 4 quarters, soccer's 2 halves, where you have a long period of time where it's just like
if
you
you make a
amount
mistake,
points
you
and
can
stuff
still
like that.
come back from
Still
it,
come
right?
back.
Combat
Boxing's
sport,
that 2-second window. You had your hands down.
and you get
You
knocked
got
out.
dizzy from something else, and then the follow-up could change the whole game. So
Yeah.
if you do have that money, I guess you could throw a 50 or 100 on
McGregor, you might
and make
get a few
like
G's.
$1,500, $2,000 back. I don't know what the numbers are.
Now, if it's 50-1, I'm just throwing that number out there. And
Okay.
you put 100 down. If my math is straight, ain't that
Like
five G's?
5 Gs, yeah, 5 Gs.
So, and if you put 100 on Mayweather, you're only gonna make like $2 because
Yeah, so-
he's the big favorite. But I'm just saying.
But to get back to the topic, like, is it, you know, is it just okay that racism is being used as a marketing tool? Because the NRA recently kind of used racism as a marketing tool, saying, you know, I think I mentioned it last week, but you know how we need to be able to have our guns so that we can combat the people who are protesting about certain issues and stuff like that. And like, protesting is like freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So now you're marketing, telling people like, yo, if you differ, you know, if you have a difference of opinion of people who's, you know, going against what you feel like, then you should get your guns and go after them.
NRA something else.
And nobody said nothing because everybody's in the pot. NRA is paying everybody. Everybody's
you know what?
in the NRA pockets.
We're becoming numb to certain things. Like right now, it has to be something done in a big stage, like with this McGregor Mayweather thing. Had to be something said in a big stage with a lot of light on it. You know what I mean? For it to really like reach home. You know what I mean? Or be seen as something that's worth even discussing racist wise. But there's a lot of little things that take place every day, and even in the networks and stuff like that, commercials and stuff, you can always find, I think, a little instance. I remember this one commercial I seen. They're not airing it over here, but it was a commercial they were airing in China.
Overseas, forget about it. They have no filter. There's
Did you
no
see the one about the laundry?
Yes,
the
yes.
Guy, the black guy who she put in the washing machine.
And he was clean now. He became Asian or something like that. It was crazy.
I was like, wow, this is how you market to your people. But that's just crazy. So, I mean, we are becoming a little, is it desensitized to it? Like, we not.
Like, I was watching something and someone saying, well, it's racist that you guys have BET. Or it's racist that, you know, you have a movement of buying black or black owned. But I'm just like, the majority of everything is targeted towards you. The majority of everything is targeted towards a certain class of non-minority. So you have
to be quiet, though.
to be able to compete in the market, you have to be like, look, everyone's not going to support me. I at least hope that my own people could support me so that we can have our doors stay open. No black business, I don't care what it is, I don't care what rhetoric is around that business. No black business is like, I hope only black people buy my business.
I don't think you're going to survive like that.
Exactly. But black businesses have to be like, you know what? For my doors to stay open, for me to continue to be a business, I'm hoping that my black community support me until I get big enough to have everyone take a chance on me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's not being race. That's not racism. That's using, that's targeting to a market to survive, to keep your
that's the
doors
thing.
open.
People feel like if it doesn't include them, then it's offensive towards them. It's just like the whole Black Lives Matter movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, or even pro-black, does not mean anti-whatever. It doesn't mean anti anything. It just means pro-black.
And I want, you brought up a good point, and I want to say something about that. It's like people combat saying that the whole Black Lives Matter thing is kind of like exclusive, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just like people don't have an issue of people being pro-white when it's done in a manner of you just that the whole Aryan Nation and stuff like that. If it was just bigging up your own people and stuff like that, nobody would have a problem. But when you start saying, and we got to kill the Jews and the N-words and stuff like that, it's just like, that becomes a hatred kind of thing. The Black Lives Matter, which is kind of going on a tangent, is just like, we want you to realize it's an issue. Category. Yeah, it's an issue of black people being killed and people not caring. You know what I'm saying? We just want people to care that people are getting killed, and can we have justice for that? But that's a whole nother thing. So I want to move on from this particular portion of it, but still the McGregor thing is still a polarizing thing. So the next question is privilege. Do you think McGregor being a white fighter got him a mega fight he wasn't even qualified for? Because think about it. As a boxer, he has no history as a boxer. To be able to fight, arguably, pound for pound, the greatest fighter in history, I don't believe he is, but you could argue that Mayweather at least is top 5 greatest fighters of all time. Yeah. Or at least in his weight class, he's the best of all time.
He's the best pound for pound, even right now, even with a hiatus of like 2 years. But a little background to those who don't really know boxing and the sport or whatever. To fight a top fighter, like a champion,
you have to earn it.
You have to climb the ranks. You have to be a contender. You start out 5th or 6th, then you beat a guy that puts you into the 4th best contender or the 3rd best. You got to work your way up. You see what I'm saying? And then once you're the number 1 contender, that means you're in position to now get a title shot. That's how it works for normal fights. This is not a normal fight. Yeah. And
this is a publicity spectacle. But
I don't think, honestly, I don't necessarily think it's because the white factor with McGregor plays as much a part in this as it does the whole boxing against UFC issue.
So you don't think there's no privilege in it at all? Because there's pretty good African American UFC fighters who I think would probably be more qualified on hand-to-hand combat against Mayweather.
But I don't know any of those. Like, I haven't heard any of the other UFC fighters talk about even thinking of stepping in the ring. I think they're sensible enough to know that that's not their forte, and they will lose. McGregor, for some reason, honestly, no. I don't even believe he really believes he can win the fight. But he knew that he can make money.
That bag. He's never seen that kind of bag.
They don't get paid nearly as much in UFC as they get paid in boxing. He knew that.
McGregor makes more money out of the ring than he does in the ring.
In UFC, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is going to be his biggest payday ever because he's seen how much money Floyd made from Pacquiao fights and previous fights, and he's like, this guy is making 7 figures easy, 8 even, and McGregor's over there like, I'm getting low 7, I think the most he made before was like $3 million for a fight, and he's like the best in that sport. He's one of the best in UFC, so he's chasing the bag, and it throws a little extra on it that he's a white boy, but I mean, if he wasn't as good a fighter in UFC as he is, and he wasn't the prime marketing guy in that sport, he wouldn't get this shot, even with him being white, and even all the stuff he talks. So he's a top guy in his sport.
But
I think it's interesting. It's kind of like, say, the best player in what's the subsidiary of the NBA?
The D League,
the G League. Oh no, let's say Rucker. This is okay, and this is different. But the best player in the Rucker League or whatever, right? If he wanted to go 1-on-1 against LeBron, he had no
People would laugh at
People
it.
would laugh at
There's
it.
no credibility for it.
But you would be like, if you seen that guy play at the Rucker and he was dominant, you'd be
I think a better
better analogy
would be like an overseas league, right? Because Rucker is just like anybody off the street. If I paid enough money and I had cachet, I could get on a Rucker team, be the 12th man, probably not no see light, but there's a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a top cat overseas who's killing. Like Michael Petrus at one time was the Michael Jordan of France. I don't know if you remember that player who played.
Yeah.
And like, you know, people don't give that kind of cachet to African American. Let's use UFC for instance, right?
Yeah.
Even though my man has a drug problem, John Bone Jones, right? Dominant.
Shout out to John Jones.
Dominant. You know what I'm saying? Great UFC fighter and stuff like that. But they never put, even before he got caught for the drugs, they never put the machine behind him the way that they've done for McGregor and also, what's the girl who got beat up? Ronda Rousey. You know what I'm saying? And there's other athletes in the sport, athletes of color, who they don't put that money behind. So with the combat sport, there is a privilege element to it. I don't know if you remember Ricky Hatton.
I remember Ricky Hatton.
I know the female followers. The female followers who don't follow all these sports, we definitely have a topic that's more friendly for you coming up. But this was something that was just
Ricky Hatton,
really polarizing.
He was a good boxer, but
they was talking about him.
They was talking about
like
him.
even let's go back to 2 weeks ago with the John Horn. Is it Joe Horn, the guy who fought Pacquiao?
Joe Horn. He lost that fight, but he won on this decision.
You don't think there was any privilege
in Australia?
Any privilege associated to that decision?
Oh, I don't think it's privilege. I just think this is why the sport of boxing has gone down so much in the years. It's corrupt, and the judging is absolutely absurd. Because anybody who watched that fight know Pacquiao beat the dude, but it was in his country, and you know he fought tough. But if you look at his face after the fight, it was clear to see he lost. So I think what it is just like with McGregor, just like with Rousey, if they got a population of people, a fan base that's large enough and loud enough, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They want to push that. Now, you have multiple black fighters in UFC or whatever that are really, really good, right? But who do you decide who to push? You know, when John Jones was killing on top, not to say they pushed him quite like McGregor, like to the masses, mm-hmm. but he was very popular. If mm-hmm. you knew anything about UFC, you knew who John Jones was. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And same thing with was it Anderson Silva? Remember the Spider?
Yeah,
that was my boy. So they pushed him. It's just a different level of push because now you have a whole culture. Like he has all of Ireland going for him mm-hmm. with McGregor. You know what I mean?
But Ireland's not even that huge when it comes to the boxing stuff like that. He just appeals to everyone because it's like we have a great white athlete mm-hmm. with bravado,
and they don't come around too long. You see what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
We are. I'm just saying it's a fact. And most things we're athletically superior because of years of hard work. Let's put it like that.
Genetics, right?
Genetics, right? So when you do have a white athlete who shows a superior ability, you know, it's a rarity that, you know, they want to exploit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the combination of that and the bravado, right? Because you have Peyton Mannings, you have Tom Brady's in other sports who are considered the best of their sport, but they're more humble. I think my thing about it is people
Tom
love.
Brady is not as humble as you think. Don't give me that.
Yeah, he's snobby. He's the snobby, arrogant.
Said, "Oh, we're only going to score 17 points against the Giants in the Super Bowl." Oh, yeah, he laughed at that. Yeah, and then he took it out.
Yeah. But all right, so let's move on to the last topic of the profiting off of racism and the ultimate profit off of racism. The ultimate come up was President Trump. Did he use racism to divide America and win the election, or did you think he just used? Did he profit off of racism to win the election, or it was more used as a divide than profit?
The profit was him winning the election. but he definitely used it. He used the divisiveness. He used the rhetoric that he knew would appeal to his base audience and the masses. And it was sad to me because I thought we as a country were smarter than that.
Yeah.
Like, I thought people were smart enough to see through the
still
BS.
I'm still
like,
numb to that.
People did not. There's some. Listen, and it's not just. Don't think it's just white people or anything like that. My cousin is a staunch Republican Trump supporter, and I have more than one cousin. But my cousin Kadar. This boy is from Harlem.
I was going to say his name.
Yeah, I'll say his name because he's proud of it. He's from Harlem. He will debate you to the death about Trump. Trump this, Trump that. He loves Trump as if Trump is his daddy. And I'm just like, do you not see through the nonsense that he's spitting to you?
I think another big factor with that is the capitalism aspect of it. People view as someone who's achieved great financial success as, you know what, Trump looks like me or closer to me, and Trump had success. He's going to run this country, and it's going to, in turn, make me successful too. I don't care, anyone who voted for Trump, when I asked him, okay, you voted for Trump, what was his platform? What about his platform that sold you? He's going to make America great again. Okay, I got you. Give me an example how. Because America's not doing good right now, so he's going to make it great again. So you didn't give me an example. You repeated the first thing you said.
Yes. And that's out Trump 101, because that's what he does. He just repeats slogans that he feel will get people riled up. I've watched his rallies and stuff and see the things that he say, and there's nothing of substance. It's just it's like in WWE when the guy comes out, the wrestler comes out, and he's in the ring, and he's like, "I'm gonna destroy such and such because I'm the Beastmaster." The crowd, yeah.
But
that's what it was.
I just thought, as a country, we would make a much more responsible decision than that.
It's bad.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, wow, people don't really. And the fact that if you can just look at one person's one aspect of what they're running on their platform and say, well, I agree with that, so that's who I'm running with, and just ignore everything else they're saying. You see what I'm saying? Because they have one particular area that appeals to you. Okay, you were anti-Obamacare, and he says, I'm gonna destroy Obamacare. I'm getting rid of it. Oh, I've been saying that for the longest. We should do that. I'm going to vote for him. No matter what is he talking. He's talking about putting my kids in concentration camps. He's talking about taking away their free lunch. I don't care nothing about that. He's getting rid of Obamacare. I'm voting for him.
Before we leave this topic, it's funny that you mentioned Obamacare because they've done multiple studies, and I don't remember the statistics, so I'm not going to spew out the exact number that a large amount of people in this country were against Obamacare, but was okay with the Affordable Care Act, and it's the same thing. It's just that people started nicknaming it Obamacare, and people hated it.
I don't like the way that sounds.
They told people the attributes of the Affordable Care Act, and they said that sounds like something we should do. There's like, that's what the Obamacare is. I don't think so. You're trying to pull something over on me.
Exactly.
We're gonna move on because to me, it's just crazy, and it really bothers me that people can actually try to make money off of making each other more riled up against each other. So we're gonna move on to the next topic, and this topic is more for everyone, not necessarily. Yeah. You don't have to care about sports. You don't have to care about politics.
Let me take the lead on this.
Go ahead.
Because
go ahead.
This is a topic. Ladies, lock in on this one. Because I can attest to this in many different ways.
And we sitting on two different sides of the same coin
two when it comes sides, to this topic. Yeah. But the question that we're going to pose now it's pretty simple. If you like it, when should you put a ring on it? Right? You've been in a relationship for quite a while, whatever. Is there a specific time which you feel like it's time to pop that question? I just had a friend of mine. He I think he's been dating his girl for about maybe 2+2 going on 3 years, something like that. And he popped the question, and he's been wanting to do it for a while. But he was trying to get his coins right,
Yeah.
you know, and come correct. So he just asked to marry him, and she said yes. Also, my old college roommate, his brother just popped a question to his girl. Shout out to you, Sean. Congratulations on that. And then we have my boy Marv here, who's been married for what, 8 years?
8 years.
8 years, going strong. I love it. I like it. Couldn't make it myself. But so the question being, when is it right? When is the right time? Or if you like it, when should you put a ring on it?
Yeah, so,
all right.
So the question was, sub question was, how long should people date before they get married? Was the first sub, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to say it's funny because the topic, if you like it, when should you put a ring on it, right? So Beyonce made that popular song, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Beyonce is like real royalty in this country. So if she says something, people find a way to be like, that's law. You know what I'm saying? Or that's how I should follow.
The beehive.
So
better get in line.
She'll on a real quick tangent, she'll tell you like, oh, leave him, kick him to the curb, girl. You could do better without him. But she went through her own stuff in her relationship, and she stayed. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if they did a study, how many women kicked their men to the curb because of the influences of Beyonce's movements. While Beyonce stayed with her man. But that's a whole nother topic now. How long should you date before you propose? I think a big factor of that is where you at in your life. People put a quantitative value to how long you should date before you propose. Like me, I literally dated for a year before I got married. And I got married at 25, turning 26, which was pretty young. I think some people be like, oh, that's crazy. You need to know someone for like 5 years. And I feel like 5 years, if you guys are 20 and then you dated for 5 years, I could get it. If you in your 30s and you dating someone for 5 years, to me it's just like you should have enough life experience or experience in relationships to decipher things for 5 years.
You should be able to decipher who that person is faster, right?
Faster than 5 years. To me, to be honest with you, I'll answer the question like this. If you're under the age of 30, ideally you should date someone for at least 2 years before you decide to get married. Especially where you at in life. Especially where you at in life. To me, if you're over 30, it just gotta make sense to you. You gotta understand what you want. You gotta understand what the person is bringing to the table, and then go for it. Because I feel like people, especially in our cultures, people date for like 10 years. They have kids. They cohabitate. And then when it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to get married. I'm like, dude, you've been technically married. What's going to change?
Bruh, you got a minute?
Yeah, no, it's your turn.
Give me the floor for a minute.
It's your turn. Go ahead.
Just give me the floor for a minute because I got a lot to say on this. I have a lot of different views on this because of my experience, all right? Mm-hmm. I'm a divorcee. I have been married. Legally, I was married for like 7 or so years, but we were separated for like 5 of those years or whatever. So it was tough. Did I get married for all the right reasons? I would say no. Did I love my wife? Yes, I did. We had a daughter together. And it was just a situation. I don't want to go specifically into all the details, but her mom wasn't Beyonce, but her mom was a strong influence in her life. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was too much, so she wouldn't move. I had got a place for us, and she wouldn't move with me, bring my daughter and move in with me until we were married. But that wasn't her decision. That was her mother's decision. All right, so that was like one demerit I put on there that I never said, you know what I'm saying? But it was already in the back of my mind. But anyway, even after that, we ended up getting married. She ended up moving in with me, and we had our family going. But I was young. I was, 05? I was too young, let's put it like that. I think it was 20, I can't do my math right now. That's 12. It was 23. Yeah. I was 23 when I first got married, and it was definitely too soon for me. So it didn't work out, but I would say, and I knew her my whole life. So there wasn't anything that I didn't know about her and the person that she was, and I still made that decision. So I even told her before, like, if I was at a different place in my life, this would have been perfect. But when we decided to make that move, it wasn't right. So that's the thing too. I want to point out. No matter how much you are dating somebody or how long you know them or whatever, you have to be right in your life. It has to be the right point in your life for you. Like all those aspirations and things that you want to obtain, you may want to figure that out first, because when you get into a marriage, it can sometimes distract you from those things and cause you to lose sight of who you are. Mm-hmm. That's the thing about a marriage too. Some people get lost in it.
It's a union. So.
Yeah, it's a union, and now it's not just you; it's you and this other person. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to lose yourself within it. So first things first is know who you are as a person before you join up with someone else.
Because even as a married person who's been married for 8 years, you have your ups, you have your downs. I think the thing that made that allows me to continue to be married and stuff like that is like you kind of have to have an understanding of what's our goals together, what's my goals separately, mm-hmm. and don't lose sight of both. You want to make sure that the goals can go hand in hand, but at the same time, you don't want to lose all your goals in support of the goals of the union, and then you'll have regret at the tail end. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely need to know yourself. What else?
Otherwise, what you said earlier about in your 20s, you should date somebody for at least 2 years before you met. My thing is it's not necessarily a time frame, mm-hmm. but I would live with somebody before I married them.
Yeah,
you don't really know who you're dealing with until you wake up next to them. You go to sleep with them.
I dated my wife for 6 months, and then we lived together for 6 months, and then we got married.
Yeah.
So even though that year is a short time, I was able to live. I did have that living together mm-hmm. for a couple of months, and it still was a short sample size. But it's like I didn't marry her. Then we moved in together. Then I realized, oh shoot, kind of stuff like that. And I still need to work on things, being more tidy, being more helpful around the house, kind of thing. Even though we have 8 years together, but we kind of develop systems.
She's probably used to it.
She's not used to it because she'll still get in my ass about stuff. But you got to develop systems. But so it's not cookie cutter. Everyone feels like you should do. If he's dating you for such a certain amount of time, that a ring should be.
Well, one more thing. It's not necessarily about that, because not everybody looks at marriage the same. Marriage is the bond.
That's the next question. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, that society has put together, that it's just a necessary thing. It's more of a business, if you ask me, because mm-hmm. it's about protection. And something happens to you, your spouse has to be protected. So it's easier if that's your wife and not just your girlfriend of a really, really long time. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't get married and have very successful relationships, because for some reason marriage changes. It changes people, mm-hmm. not just the women, but mostly the women. But people change marriage.
It changes both. I mean? It changes both. The second question of this topic is, does marriage still mean what it used to be? And that's why I kind of said, we're going to get mm-hmm. to it. Like you said, marriage is a legal doctrine, right? It is something to protect people. I don't think...
It's a business agreement.
I don't think...
Where love is
we value marriage the same way that we used to. Marriage now is like a cell phone contract. You're like, you know what? I'm going to give it a year or two, and as soon as I'm not feeling it, I break that contract. I don't think people put the weight and severity into marriage.
Let me tell you something. You know why? Think about it. Back in the day, where women weren't as independent and self-sufficient as they are these days, it was different. You married into... Either you really married for love, because y'all was both broke,
or you married for
and y'all was really in love with each other, and y'all didn't have a pot to piss in, so you didn't have to worry about no prenups or nothing like that. We ain't got nothing, but we got love. Let's get married. Let's mm-hmm. build together. Mm-hmm. Or you have a very successful man who
needs that trophy.
Family is well off. Yeah, she need to come up, or her parents trying to give her away to somebody, and they want to give her away to somebody who can take care of her. That's one aspect.
And it's funny you say that, right? Because people think nowadays marriage is a contract or is a business. Marriage has always been a business.
Always been.
That's why there's so many arranged marriages till this day in different cultures.
Different cultures. Exactly, but it's more difficult today because, not to say you can't get married just for love these days, but you got to think about all the other stuff that's involved, and women have, started to become much more of a, I don't want to say factor, but they're just so independent as where they weren't before. So it's like a man has to understand, and I think a lot of times men not are intimidated, but there's certain women that they feel they can't have. You know what I'm saying? So they'll settle for a certain woman that gives them time of day, whatever. Yeah. But they may, they may go down a level from where they actually could be.
I think both men and women a lot of times settle because marriage for some reason, and I wish we had a woman. We were supposed to have a woman guest, but it didn't work out. But I wish we had a woman to combat our thing. Because whenever you have too much testosterone on a topic, people are like, oh, that's just men talking. Yeah. But I feel like marriage has also become something of a achievement than necessarily something that people really truly believe in, like, of joining of love. Like some people feel like, what, I have success in work, I have financial success. Now I need to get married so I can say that my life was complete. Not necessarily I'm looking for the love of my life, but I need to be able to say that I'm so successful. Look at me. Not only do I have success in economically successful, financial successful, or even educational goals, I also was successful enough to be married. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest with you, I don't think marriage is an accomplishment. I have so many single women, smart, beautiful, good careers and stuff like that, and they're just like, I'm so depressed, I'm not married. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're enjoying life, you travel and stuff like that. Whenever you get a chance, people
look at them like, yeah, you got this, that, and the third, but
you're not married.
You're not married.
And
something
it's
wrong
old school
with you.
Thinking. It's old
something
school
wrong
thinking.
with you.
If anybody ever makes you feel bad because you're not married, just evaluate their life and see if marriage was the pinnacle of their success. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Marriage should be about joining. You do marriage because you love this person and you want this person to feel secure and realize, look, I love you so much that I want you to know it's us two, and that if anything happens to me, I want to be able to pass on what I have to protect you and have you keep going forward. And eventually, you introduce children into that.
And then you think about it, when you talk to married people more and more, it's like they make you not want to get married.
Yeah, they do.
There's no way. It's so great. Me and my honey. It's be like
married people complain, but then they say,
complain.
"But I love him."
Yeah.
But
it's more complaining than anything. You know what I'm saying? But to get back to the previous topic, there was something I wanted to say about the age thing. What I'm finding out from my experiences is in your 20s, there's not nearly as much pressure, or it's not nearly as much of a thought. And I'm speaking from the male personality, a male point of view, to get married in the 20s and whatever. I don't know how much women think about it. I'm sure they think about it a lot more than men. But in your 30s, what I found from dating in my 30s, it's heavy on women more so. Like, they really feel like, I need to do this. Not only are they biological clocks ticking, but that bridal clock is ticking. And they start to they really start to doubt themselves and who they are and think
like it's crazy because I'm telling you, I'll complain to people like, I'm going through something where I'm realizing like, wow, I got into the financial industry, like the big banks, kind of later in my career, right? I didn't get in until 2013. So now I have colleagues that are higher levels than I am. I have bosses of bosses who are younger than me, and it doesn't bother me. I just realize everybody's, career path is different. So I take it in stride. I do think to myself, man, I'm at this level, and people that are younger than me, even people that I used to like who got into banking before me, they're like high levels, and I'm still on like a a more junior level. And I say that to say this. I start to telling people like, man, I really gotta, switch up and do things. And people be, and some of my female friends be like, but Marv, you're married, so I should be content in life.
Everything's great
because okay, you're not where you want to be economically. You're not where you want to be at financially or even career goals. But you're married, so like I reached some kind of pinnacle of success.
They probably feel like finding somebody and getting married is more of a challenge than even reaching that level of success in their career.
Yeah.
So it's like you've reached this level as far as marrying somebody, so you've done something that is just amazing. Like this stuff in the career, it's not nearly as tough.
Which is crazy to me because I tell people like I'm legacy chasing. Mm-hmm. That is my thing every day. I make decisions because I want to build a legacy. I don't have children to pass on a legacy, but I want it to be like, damn, this person made a difference somehow, somewhat. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I chase trying to build a business, trying to have that mindset, trying to, hopefully build a black business that helps, people in our communities. That's what I'm chasing. That's just like, once I got that, that's going to be success. But, some single women just like, don't worry about all that. You married. You know what I'm saying? So I just think people lose sight on marriage should be something that, you know what? If you found love but you didn't find marriage, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But people feel like if you don't have the validity of marriage, then it doesn't mean as much.
And people feel like they're more protected when they get married.
It is a protection because I know people from other cultures who like they just get together and they cohabitate for such a long time, and then when their spouse dies, none of the retirement transfers over to them. None of the insurance transfers over to them because even though everyone knew that you guys was together,
but I'm saying they feel like their relationship is more protected. Yeah. All right, you know what I'm saying? I think more husbands cheat than boyfriends. Tell you the truth.
Well, no, I think it's equal. No,
think it's equal?
That's a strong point, but I think we make more of a bigger deal when a husband cheat versus when a boyfriend cheat, because a boyfriend's supposed to quote unquote get all of those things out of his system before he puts the ring on.
Yeah.
But if the relationship doesn't change with the ring and it's still lacking in certain ways, married men go looking for certain kind of satisfaction that they're not getting a lot of times. I think married men cheat more because something's missing, where boyfriends cheat more because they're like, yo, I'm not technically committed to nobody, so I can still go out there and play the field.
And I think it's because married man is probably like, I definitely love my wife, I'm not leaving her.
Exactly.
But I do need this other thing.
Have some fun.
A boyfriend will be like, well, I'm not getting it here, so let's just end this relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And y'all can split ways. It's not that easy when you're married to just split ways.
And you got to, and that's why, to be honest with you, the one beautiful thing, even though married people complain, I'm a married person, I know I complain, my wife probably complains. I know she complains. She just doesn't necessarily always complain to me. But I say that to say this: marriage, when you honor it, makes you fight more. You know what I'm saying? There's been plenty of things.
What you mean? You fight each other more?
No, I'm glad you
fight
did.
for it more.
Fight for it more. I'm glad you did that because I would have left that statement out there and people would have been like, what? No, because it's just like you made this commitment. When my marriage was tough when I was really young into the marriage, where it would have been easier for me to run, I'm like, yo, I made this commitment. I watched my parents go through everything and stay married, and I'm just like, yo, I got to fight for this. You know what I'm saying? I love this woman. I was in love with her enough to put a ring on it. So I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to work with them, communicate. When you dating, someone give you problems, I'm like, yo, I don't got no kids with you. We don't own no property together. Peace out. You know what I'm saying? But when you're married, you're just like, yo, think about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one benefit of marriage that, that I appreciate. I want to get to the last portion of this topic before we move to our new topic, and is, does dating too long prevent you from getting married? It's like if you're already getting the benefits, why make the commitment?
Mm-hmm. I would say that's a tough one. That's a tough question.
And this is why they call me friend. So I agree that dating too long, prevents you from getting married. Even people, like, even with the engagement thing, right? Some men are pressured into marriage, so they do the engagement thing. I've been dating her for 2.5 years. She's giving me pressure. She's getting antsy. I put a ring on it to buy me another 2.5 years, or what's. And I don't agree in long engagements like that. I feel like you build more opportunity for something to happen, for you guys to break up when you engage for a long time. Everybody's finance is different. Everybody makes the whole wedding thing a financial thing, where it's just like, I need a big wedding, so you need to build
That's
up.
about
Kind
the
of thing.
woman.
My thing about it is like, you put a 2-year engagement out there. You gave a window for a lot of things to happen. You get engaged, you get married shortly thereafter, if it's possible. I would rather, this is me putting my own opinion out there. I would rather us get married in City Hall, be married, and then work towards having that ceremony that you want to have. But we're already solid as a married couple. Than saying I propose to you today, and in 2 years we'll get married. What do you think about that? I think dating too long gives you that opportunity to be like, you know what? You start weighing negatives more than anything. You start saying, you know what? I want things to be perfect.
You
if you
kind of
date too long.
convinced me right there in what you said. So, because I was on the fence with it, but I would agree. I think once you are ready to make that move to propose, and she's ready to accept, y'all are ready to get married.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So whether it be tomorrow, the day after the proposal, or
Like, if it's really about the union and not that show, because who's a wedding for? A wedding necessarily,
Friends
some
and
people say the
family,
woman, friends and
the
family, stuff
woman,
like that.
yeah.
That's a show for other people.
Mm-hmm.
You doing this whole big song and dance to quote unquote shit on people. People don't talk like that, but to like, oh, it's the most special day in my life. Granted, but to be married, all you need is that certificate, that official, it being officiated that you're married and stuff
that
like that.
understanding
That
between you
show,
two.
like, to me, more black people hustle hard to get money up for a wedding than they do to buy their own home. So many people spend $50K on a wedding and go back to renting and don't have a down payment to put on
And end up
down.
divorced. Well, with the whole spectacle thing, shout out to my.
I know people have beautiful weddings. My little brother had a beautiful wedding and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, to me, that wasn't a big deal for me, because it's just like, who's that spectacle for?
It's for the friends and family and the wife. The wife wants to feel appreciated. The bigger the spectacle is, it's her day.
Mm-hmm.
She may not get another day for years after that, so it's her day.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to my cousin Thea, who had a big spectacle.
Congratulations,
Thea in the day.
No
got
shade,
married.
no shade was thrown towards your
shade.
wedding. This is my own perspective.
They got married this weekend out in Jamaica. That's where Bacardi Dark is right now. He was out there this weekend for the wedding. I didn't get to make it, but
I apologize. Shout out to Bacardi Dark. My wife told me, like, y'all didn't mention Bacardi Dark till mad late last episode, and the same thing happening. So shout out to Bacardi Dark. We know
he's
you're gonna
here
be in
in
the building when you
spirit,
get.
but
when you get
he got a lot going on. So he was out in Jamaica for the wedding, and that's a beautiful thing. Them doing it out there in Jamaica with the friends and family or whatever. You got married in Jamaica, right?
Yeah, I did. I did it.
I'm still mad about that because I wasn't there.
No, nobody was there though. I did it very economical. Like, we was going on a trip to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. I proposed. I planned a wedding while I was out there. We also had a couple of days for a honeymoon. Yeah. That one trip did so many beautiful things for us.
I think that's part of why my marriage didn't work out. I never had a honeymoon.
But
you need the honeymoon.
Yeah.
To consummate the marriage.
All right, so we'll close out that saying that, my opinion is dating too long gives you too much time to decide, okay, this is not for me, especially when you get engaged after a certain while and then you go on a couple of years engaged. How would you close that out as far as dating too long? Do you agree with dating too long prevents marriage or not?
It's not beneficial to marriage. I wouldn't say necessarily it prevents it, but it does give it gives opportunity for more things to go wrong, more questions to arise. When you've been with somebody, if you with somebody for let me say 7+ years, and you don't think, or you're not sure if you're ready to marry them, then maybe you need to move on and find somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I would say find somebody else who because marriage is not something that you want to be iffy with. you got to know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So we're gonna move on to the last topic. We're gonna have to wrap it up. We kind of overwent on other topics.
We're going to touch on something. And then we'll probably bring it back up in later episodes.
Yeah.
So just touch on something.
The next topic is something that's very interesting. We wanted to have a professional who worked in the industry, but unfortunately we wasn't able to have her. We'll try to have her another time. Mm-hmm. And it's the war on prescription drugs, right? Nowadays, everybody's pill popping. Not everybody, but a large people are pill popping. You know, people are Xanny heads, Vicodin, all kind of pills and stuff like that. Molly Percocet, exactly. Right? So everybody seems to be a pillhead and stuff like that. But why isn't America crying the war on prescription drugs? Why isn't our president coming out saying the abuse of prescription drugs is hurting our communities, this, that, and the other, the way that the 80s with the Reagan wars, followed up by, Bush, followed up by Clinton, the war on drugs, this is your brain on drugs and stuff like that. We're abusing prescription drugs the same way. So why isn't America waging war on the prescription drug abuse?
Because it's the drug of choice in America. It's the legal drug of choice. The pharmaceutical companies is making a killing.
Exactly.
All right.
And we gotta call them out like that, right? Because big pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that know the addictive nature of their drugs.
Yep.
And still are allowed to push it. They try to put in rules to monitor how much prescription people get and stuff like that, but people are still abusing these drugs just as easily, and no one's going to jail for it because the people making the drugs are quote unquote professionals and profiting off of it, and the people who slinging the drugs are quote unquote professionals and profiting off of it.
Yeah, my friend, she's a pharmacist, and I call her. I said, "You're just a legal drug dealer. You're a drug dealer. You deal drugs, but on the legal level." And I think it is getting out of control. But at the same time, what are you going to do? Because they have a system in place where you have pharmacists, you have doctors who prescribe these drugs that help you, whether it be pain medicine or other types of, medicines, morphines and stuff like that, that help you with your injuries, but they are very addictive in nature, and then when somebody
the side effects for using one drug gives you
God.
other stuff. But my thing about it is, I think because the people who are abusing these pills also don't look like a certain way, so America's just like, let's not make people feel bad about it.
It's the same thing like we would talk about cocaine and crack.
Yeah,
the war on drugs was it was a attack on crack, which was the predominant drug in the 80s in the black communities. But Hollywood and all those other people was doing coke like you wouldn't believe. But coke wasn't the target. Even though crack and coke are the same thing, they just cook. One's cooked, one's not. The difference is who's using it. Who do we want to target? So I think the prescription drugs,
So I want to ask one last question. We give a comment on it, and then we'll close
wrap it up.
Are doctors the new drug dealers? Because a lot of powerful people have connection where it's just like, go to this doctor, tell him you have such and such pain. He's not even going to evaluate you. He's going to give you a script.
Doctors are I wouldn't say new drug dealers. They've been the drug dealers. But I think what's even more concerning is the addiction to the plastic surgeons. We're going to touch on that in a future episode.
Yeah, that'll be good. I do think just like if all professions, you have good doctors and bad doctors, but I know there's a lot of doctors out there who the real way they make their money is their scripts.
Their scripts, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to wrap that up. Thank you guys for, coming through and watching this podcast. And I know it's summertime, so some of you guys are probably going to watch it on demand later on, but continue to support.
Check us out.
What's your view for the week before we get out?
My view for the week always is a reflection on my life and things I went through. So I had a rough week, but get through it. You know what I mean? Strive to be great every day. I had a lot of bad situations take place in the last couple of weeks, man. I lost some people in my family. My cousin Jackie had passed away. out in St.
Sorry,
Martin.
rest in peace
You
to your
know,
cousin.
so I just want people to emphasize on living life to the fullest, man. You know, we all got struggles, we all got to grind and work, but you know, find time to enjoy this life because you only get one, man. So just
I'm gonna keep
make the
mine
most of
short
it.
and sweet, like I said it during the podcast. Live for a legacy and not for likes. And I'm saying, just think about what I just said. Live for a legacy. Do your moves for a legacy, not just for likes. And I'm saying, because likes, 1 second after someone likes whatever you did, they like peace out. So that's another episode of Views from the Friendzone podcast. Join us next week. Thanks for the love. We out.
We out of here.